Those rats, it's an addiction. I guess kind of like a drug addiction. They've got to come in here. They don't care what's happening in here. They're coming in here. Then whenever they get nervous, then they'll ease right back out of here for a while. They're constantly on the move. And they can't stand not to come in here and get all the free meals and the free rats and mice that they can get a hold of. In the total darkness, creeping around like a little predator at night.
We've been filming with a light rig like that for the better part of 10 years. Big white lights and people giving us a hard time for it. Now we're taking a polar opposite turn. Let's try this stuff with no lights. This never gets old. And the day, or rather the night that it does.
Chris, right, here we go.
I don't know what I'll do with myself. This is what it's all about, hunting and doing what we love, trying to bring stuff for you guys at home to enjoy. And this is the fruits of our labor. Enough of the sweet talk. Let's go do this again.
If a coyote could talk and one were to ask him what his favorite sound was, I'm sure he would say, besides a foxborough, deer. John deer to be exact. In our neck of the woods, every living predator within earshot of farmers getting in one last cut before winter knows that sound can mean only one thing. Rats. Lots of them. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet of rodents of all sizes. If you can find it, you can eat it. And for a creature of opportunity like a coyote, it's a temptation they simply can't resist. That smell and taste of an endless supply of heaven is just too much for a coyote to handle, and all caution goes right out the window. Who knew a regular old hayfield could be a night hunter's paradise?
One thing we learned when we built this high rack is that a Chevy truck bed is not perfectly square. It's wider at the front than it is at the back. So we kind of had to build this platform to fit. It's a bit snug, but usually if you got it the right way, it'll slide in there. Like a glove. This is what you call very expensive and high-tech sound dampening equipment. We made this here ourselves. It's called carpet. It's for our gun rack. Keeps things from rattling. I hear them howling. You hear them? They're not a mile from our house, but I can hear them howling. We're coming. We're coming. I promise you. I tell you what, it's hot. But we've talked about it for several years, going and hunting. Every year, this time of year, there's a bunch of farmers around here that start cutting. Every single one of them always says, man, you guys need to come follow me around while I'm combining. I got coyotes following me around and doesn't scare them or nothing. And today, after driving by and seeing those two in the field, I spent at least 3 hours out there just filming them because I didn't have a gun. I've never seen what I saw today, how it's literally covered with rats, dead rats, and it's amazing how much a coyote can eat. I bet I filmed them eating at least 20 mice or rats or whatever they are, but I know that they were big ones. We're gonna go see if they want to eat a foxborough, or try to.
Sometimes simply observing a coyote will teach you more about a coyote than actually hunting one. I had no idea of the sheer amount of rodents just laying around in a freshly cut hayfield, much less how many of them a coyote could fit in his belly. After one would scarf down 4 or 5 whole and exit the field, I would think, okay, he's probably done. Nope, there's still a little room left in there. They would always leave the same way they came, every time. This happened multiple times over a few hours, to the point I just quit counting. And every time I thought for sure they were done, here they'd come again. I thought to myself, you know, these coyotes are so preoccupied. If a guy had the right equipment, he could let the sun go down and have a blast. This is a thermal night hunter's dream, to have the cover of darkness, and coyotes so busy stuffing themselves, they don't have a clue what's going on around them. The only thing left for us to worry about is getting to them before they literally eat themselves to death.
I think what we need to do, Jared, we'll drive by with the thermal. We'll cruise by the field and see if they're in the field. And if they're in the field, instead of driving in there and bumping them out, why don't we just ease in there and get them a thermal. You ready? Let's do this.
For us, thermal was such a complete game changer, in the sense it opened up so much new opportunity.
I bet I was in there today for at least 3 hours. It was funny because they kept going in and out of the field, and every time they would leave, they would always go the same way. I got busted by one, and the other one had no clue I was in there, so we're about to find out.
What used to be a guessing game every time we pulled into a place has now become much more accurate data. Before thermal, we had no way of looking over a field before we had committed into driving into one, and always wondered just how many coyotes we bumped out as a result. Well, now we know. It had to have been a lot. Nowadays, instead of blindly driving in, we always look things over first, because you never know if you already have visitors.
He's still over there?
He's right there. He's kind of going in and out. What looks like he's in and out of the brush, but I'm wondering if he's not where they had raked up that hay. Here, check it out. I mean, he's just right there.
There's a little small rise in the hill right there.
Yeah.
And if we can get in one of these bales, just follow these bales up until we can see him and just try to get behind the closest one to him, see what happens.
Heck yeah. Let's go. Before he takes off, I'll just put it on the gun and we'll head off that way.
One great thing about a thermal weapon sight is the ability to detach and use the unit to scan with and shoot with on the fly, unlike a traditional scope. This allows a hunter to be able to remove the unit at will and remount it back to the gun in seconds and still hold a 0. That's pretty handy.
It is insane, the mount on this scope. You're able to take that on and off that pick rail, and it holds its consistency, its accuracy 100% of the time. It's like the best thing ever. We're about to draw first blood.
He's about to get it.
He definitely is. This is first blood right here, I'm calling it.
I knew those coyotes were still close by, and it didn't take long to find a rat addict at work. One bit of good advice is always put a few spare batteries in your pocket anytime you take off towards an animal. We were standing at around 75 yards from this coyote, And just to show how preoccupied he was, watch how long it takes for Jared to get his attention.
I don't think he's heard you yet.
There's almost no wind at all, and you could hear a pin drop, but this guy wasn't paying a lick of attention. I think we finally got someone's attention.
Stop him. Get him. Keep going. Stop him. Get him.
Oh, dude, he's laid out. Chris sat there and filmed these coyotes for 2.5 hours today, 2.5 or 3 hours. And for a plan to come together like that, you know, we're using our thermal, which, you know, we're known for big bright white lights. But you know, there's been times where we know we have coyotes pinpointed, we know where they're at, we know what they're doing. So to be able to take and come in here with thermal, be quiet, be completely blacked out, and just the little lip squeaks, it's crazy how they act. If you aren't using every tool available to kill an animal, whether it's a hunting truck with big bright lights, or if it's a thermal unit, night vision, then you're cutting yourself short. That's a good way to start the year. I mean, I'm missing the bright lights, but tell you what, old Tyler at Ultimate Night Vision, if you're on the fence about thermal, about night vision, give him a call, rent one of his units, just give it a shot, because this is fun. Dude, that Creedmoor plowed through that coyote. Whenever you have a coyote that's already in a field and it's already doing something, it's hard to pull in on them. It's hard to drive in and get our footage with the rig. This opened up a whole new world. Our numbers are going to go up because of this. Our success rate, it just increased exponentially, and I'm loving it too. It's awesome. It's a pleasant change. We've been filming with a light rig like that for the better part of 10 years. You know, big white lights and people giving us a hard time for it. Now we're taking a polar opposite turn. Let's try this stuff with no lights.
There's things I tend to remember from all of our hunts, and I'm positive the sight of this coyote leaping over strips of raked hay grass will be with me for a long time. I mean, how cool is that?
This is the beginning of a very good year. I can feel it. Night Crew Season 2 has just begun.
That's cool. That's fun, ain't it?
One of those farmers always telling us stories about coyotes and tractors is Night Crew's own Gary Bennett. He sees it every year about this time of year and jumped at the chance to take advantage of a field he personally cut that afternoon. This was Gary's first rodeo with thermal, but it didn't take long for him to figure out how the game works. There were 3 coyotes making their way into the field, and Gary says, "Let's go get one." And I replied by saying, "How about we get all 3?
Get him.
One down, 2 to go, and after a quick wind check, over the hill after him we went. They knew something had just happened to their buddy, but the persistent urge to scavenge for mice just took control, and opportunity presented itself for us once again.
Get him.
And then there was 3.
Get him.
We were 3 for 3.
It was kind of like they read the script tonight. We killed one down at the bottom, the other 2 went over the top of the hill on us. We were able to ease our way up here and catch them. So we shot one and everybody kind of disappeared. We just kind of hung tight because we knew they couldn't stand not to come back in here and eat mice. And lo and behold, here comes the 3rd one back in the total darkness, creeping around like a little predator at night. The fun thing about hunting these hayfields like this is they travel from one end of it to the other. It's not like you have to sneak into them. You find one, then you try to figure out what he's gonna do, then you just kind of set up and play a waiting game on him. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but tonight it worked out. I think they read the script just like we did tonight. It was wonderful.
I've said since day one, there is no right or wrong way to hunt at night. And this most unconventional, yet very effective way to get it done in the dark is proof there is more than one way to skin a cat. We will never look at a tractor the same way again. And you can bet, the next time you see the rig sitting empty by the gate, we are somewhere close by trying to see this one more time.